Ys, The Vanished Omens is a top-down action RPG for the Sega Master System. Published by the now legendary Falcom in 1987 on a number of platforms, it was initially developed for the PC 8800 series by Masaya Hashimoto and also Tomoyoshi Miyazaki. Flippin' heck, I hope I got their names right. The game would become the first in a very long-running series that continues on to this day. Well, in Japan at least. Most fans of the Ys agree that the Master System version of The Vanished Omens is one of the best, and that's the one that I have used to review today. So, what's the plot of this game? Well, once long ago, the kingdom of Ys fell under a reign of evil, but the goddesses of Ys saved the kingdom from ruin, and their fates were written in 6 magical books and hidden until the time the goddesses would be needed again. And guess what? 1,000 years later, that time has come. In this version of Ys, you play as Aaron Christian, a young seafaring adventurer who washes up on the shores of a land desperately in need of your help. And as I've already mentioned, it's been a millennium since the 2 goddesses of Ys saved their kingdom by hiding 6 powerful magical books before launching their citadel into the sky to escape the dark forces below. Now a dark magician, Dark Decked, is looking for these powerful tomes that could unleash great destructive power onto the land of Asteria, and you must race the sorcerer to find all 6. So you now need to arm yourself and prepare for an adventure into the unknown, where caverns and towers are filled with creatures and hoards of treasure, where the strangest people have clues to tell you, and where your skill in combat depends on your reflexes. And if you succeed, you have the power to call down the goddesses. Fail, and Dark Decked will rule the kingdom under a reign of terror forever. So there you go. It might not sound like much of a story, but for a game released in the late 80s, it's just fine. Now, I have to say, I've never personally valued graphics over gameplay, but Ys The Vanished Omens looks really good, especially considering its age. The graphics in this game, especially the character portraits in the dialogue screens, really help to give the game a rich atmosphere. And the music, while nothing amazing, adds to the overall experience as well. There's certainly been a few remakes released over the years on various systems which update the game's graphics, and they do look pretty good while managing to keep the overall tone of the original. However, the Master System's 8-bit graphics have a certain kind of charm which can't really be replicated. Now, what really makes Ys unique is the battle system. At a first glance, one could be forgiven for thinking it might play like an early Zelda game. However, Arrow attacks enemies by simply running into them. I'm not particularly sure if that was intentional, or if it was made that way due to hardware limitations at the time, but the nudge to death battle system would go on to become a hallmark of the series. There is a little method to the madness, however. The damage you give and take when engaging an enemy depends on the angle at which you ram yourself into them. Hit them head on and you will do a bit of damage, but also take a few to the chin. Hit them from behind and you will do even more damage. The best tactic, however, seems to be attacking the enemy from the side, so that only half of Arrow's body is colliding with whatever monster you have decided to pick a fight with. So this off-centre clipping approach yields the most damage to the enemy and the least damage to Arrow as well. And also, since buttons are not required for battle, you can play most of Ys with one hand, sip a cup of coffee with your right and then accumulate experiences points with your left. And when you consider the large amounts of experience points you will need to farm, this one-handed approach is most appreciated. However, in saying all that, I have to say Ys The Vanished Omens is a difficult game, especially at the very start and at the very end. You will probably find yourself dying all the time, but that is to be expected. And that final boss is absolutely ridiculous in terms of difficulty, while at the start of the game you're almost too weak to kill anything at all. Thankfully though, the difficulty serves as a challenge more than a chore. Now, there are weapon and armour upgrades available throughout the game, along with items to help you on your quest. The one major gripe I have is that you can only hold one each item at once, meaning that once you use an item you have to go all the way back to town to buy another one. It's even worse when you find an item you already have in a treasure chest and you have to leave it there. So I did find that a little bit frustrating and disappointing. Also, some have criticised Ys for being too uneven in regard to its layout and objectives, but its evenness makes it more memorable. The old dungeon boss reward formula gives way to a seemingly random organic design. Also, the first 3 magic books are scattered across several locations, while the last 3 reside in one tower. The game therefore is broken into 2 halves. The first is more open to exploration, while the second is more linear. And that second half limits you to a 25 floor tower that requires a good amount of short-term memory and backtracking. And flipping heck, there are very few landmarks, no paintings, plants or colour variations to mark your progress. In short, you will get lost. However, since the tower has undergone little revision in modernised versions of the game, perhaps it seems that the confusion is intentional and meant to add to the overall challenge. Now, I will say that all Ys enthusiasts should feel somewhat indebted to Sega for being the first to port the beloved Falcom classic from the Japanese computers. Sure, Sega may have missed a few details. For example, the names of people and places have changed, Adult Christian becoming Aaron Christian. The box art depicts a blonde swordsman, despite Aaron clearly having a red dome. And that apostrophe in the title caused confusion in the pronunciation as well. But all this can be easily forgiven since Sega gave us the first chance to play an Ys title. Even today there are too many Ys sequels that remain untranslated and thereby unappreciated in the West. Ys, the Vanished Omens is the mustard seed that would slowly grow into one of the most beloved cult franchises in gaming history. It may not be the best rendition of the game, but it's a good place to start, if only to appreciate how well the game has evolved on the Turbo Duo, the Saturn and the PlayStation 2. So, in summary, all things considered, Ys the Vanished Omens is a classic. As adult, you will adventure through a land filled with monsters, secrets, colourful characters, abandoned mines, mountain ranges, and everything in between. I mean, I played this game when it was first released on the Master System, and I have to say, I'm still in love with it. So I highly recommend this game to anyone who likes old console RPGs and also enjoys a challenge. Okay folks, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed my short video of Ys the Vanished Omens on the Master System. Thank you very much for watching, it's much appreciated. Now please remember to like my video, share a comment, and better still, subscribe to my channel. And if you do, that would also be very much appreciated. Until my next video, I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.